Good morning and welcome to our online viewers to today's service where we're going to be continuing our look into Ruth, and we'll also be sharing in the building in communion. Unfortunately, you won't be able to join with us, but I do encourage you, if you're at all able, to come along in future weeks and we can worship together in person and not just online. And if you have any prayer requests, then please do send them in. And if you want to write to us, then our address is on the website. And thank you to those that have written in so far. Our Bible passage this morning is taken from Ruth chapter 3. It's going to be the whole chapter from verse 1 through to 18. And Helen's going to read for us. So thank you, Helen.
Ruth chapter 3. One day, Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, "My daughter, should I not try to find a home for you, where you will be provided for? Is not Boaz, with whose servant girls you have been, a kinsman of ours? Tonight we will be winnowing barley on the threshing floor. Wash and perfume yourself, and put on your best clothes. Then go down to the threshing floor, but don't let them know you are there, until he has finished eating and drinking. When he lies down, note the place where he is lying. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down. He will tell you what to do." "I will do whatever you say," Ruth answered. So she went down to the threshing floor and did everything her mother-in-law told her to do. When Boaz had finished eating and drinking and was in good spirits, he went over to lie down at the far end of the grain pile. Ruth approached quietly, uncovered his feet, and lay down. In the middle of the night, something startled the man, and he turned and discovered a woman lying at his feet. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am your servant Ruth," she said. "Spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are a kinsman redeemer." "The Lord bless you, my daughter," he replied. "The kindness is greater than that which you showed earlier. You have not run after the younger men, whether rich or poor. And now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I will do for you all you ask. All my fellow townsmen know that you are a woman of noble character. Although it is true that I am near of kin, there is a kinsman redeemer nearer than I. Stay here for the night, and in the morning, if he wants to redeem, good, let him redeem. But if he's not winning, as surely as the Lord lives, I will do it. Lie here until morning." So she lay at his feet until morning, but got up before anyone else could be recognized. And he said, "Don't let it be known that a woman came to the threshing floor." He also said, "Bring me the shawl you are wearing and hold it out." When she did so, he poured into it 6 measures of barley and put it on her. Then he went back to town. When Ruth came to her mother-in-law, Naomi asked, "How did it go, my daughter?" Then she told her everything Boaz had done for her, and added, "He gave me these 6 measures of barley, saying, 'Don't go back to your mother-in-law empty-handed.'" Then Naomi said, "Wait, my daughter, until you find out what happens, for the man will not rest until the matter is settled today."
Thank you, Helen, for doing that reading for us. We're going to sing once again. So if you're able, if you're in the building, please stand as we sing the next song. And online, please do join in as we sing "All I Once Held Dear."
All I once thought
In a moment, the PowerPoint will come up on screen, which will show the title of today's message. There we go. Right on cue. One day. One day. When you think of that phrase, what does that mean to you? One day. Is it simply one day, as in 24 hours of time? Or is it a significant day? One day I went to school. One day I sat an exam. One day I got married. One day I became a dad. One day. It's a moment that marks an occasion rather than simply recording the passage of time. And this passage, chapter 3 of the book of Ruth, starts with this phrase, one day. And on this particular day, Naomi kind of realizes, she comes to her senses or reaches a conclusion that where we've been is not good enough. One day. And by the end of this day, there is a desire that things will change. That's the phrase. One day. What does our one days look like? I've mentioned some milestones in my own life, and different amongst you will have different milestones. Different occasions that you'll say, yes, that was one day for me. Maybe one day I won a race rather than coming second or third. Maybe one day I got picked for the sports team when I didn't normally. One day. And on this particular day, they talked together and they say, we've survived so far. You've been gleaming and we've been, we've received the blessing of God that we've survived. But that time has come to an end. There's no more harvesting to be done. So what are we going to do now? Now that the old day has ended, what does today, what does our one day hold for us? One day. There was a time in my life when I was not in a dissimilar situation to Ruth and Naomi. That between my wife and myself, we didn't have a regular job at all. That it was impossible for us to finance the roof over our heads. That I was taking casual jobs just so I could try and put food on the table. That was as much as I could do. And we had to pray and trust God for the finance, for the roof over our head. And it was a really scarable and stressful time in my life, and I never want to go back to that day ever again. But I've been through it. Because for me, there was a one day. One day when another temporary situation was offered to me. And on paper, it didn't look good. It's like, well, we can't survive on this any more than we could survive on yesterday and last week and last month. But because God has spoken into my heart and into our lives, I took this opportunity, this temporary contract that was for 6 months. It was going to be reviewed every 3 months, just so they had enough time in case it was going to come to an end. But because God had given me a word, God had given me encouragement that this was going to be his provision. This was going to be his plan. This was going to be his opportunity. I took it. I stepped into it. And then I discovered later the plans that he had for me and for our provision. He changed some stuff around. The numbers didn't change, but how he ordered things made a difference. One day. I don't know what things each of you are going through, those in the room or those online. Maybe like Naomi and Ruth, you're struggling to persevere. Maybe the cost of living crisis is gripping tighter and tighter. And you're thinking, how on earth am I going to survive? Then take courage from this passage. That you too can have your equivalent of one day with God. But some tips and some clues about this one day that we can hopefully learn from this passage. The first thing is moving forward. Moving forward. Verse 3 of the passage goes like this. Wash and perfume yourself and put on your best clothes. Then go down to the threshing floor. But don't let him know that you are there until he has finished eating and drinking. And this is Naomi speaking to Ruth. And so Ruth changes her clothes, puts her glad rags on, puts her best frock on, whatever that is, whatever that looked like. Put her favourite perfume on and moves forward. Goes to find Boaz at this place. Now, I have a bit of a problem with this because it's dark. Boaz has been threshing the grain, but when she goes out, she sneaks out, so no one sees her going. She's in hiding when she gets there, so she can spy on Boaz and see what he's up to, but he can't see her. And then when he's gone to sleep, she sneaks up on him and lies down at his feet. And then Boaz wakes up in the middle of the night, like, and so Boaz can't see her. That's why he asks her the question, who are you? Who are you, this strange woman lying at my feet? What are you doing here? I never invited you. I never told you to come. He doesn't recognize this woman that he has had so many conversations with over the last few weeks, that he's helped for, he's cared. He sat across the table and given her food. He doesn't recognize her. So why has she invested so much time and energy and effort in having a wash and putting her perfume on and putting on her best frock? I need to go and hide. To me, it doesn't make sense if it's about the outward appearance. Because nobody sees what she's like. So for me, it must be for a different reason. There's a different reason to get dressed and to be changed and to be washed. Some scholars suggest that, up until this time, Ruth would have been wearing some kind of widow's outfit. And so changing her clothes means that she's no longer wearing her widow's outfit, but she's wearing, a fancy dress. This is saying, if it was in daylight, to anyone who would see her, that she's mourned for her dead husband, and it's time to move on. It's time to move forward. I'm back on the market. If it was today, she'd be on the latest dating apps, whatever they are. You know, putting her profile up and checking all the messages and swiping right and swiping left. No, yeah, like him, don't like him. For me, the change of clothes is more for Ruth than it is for anybody else. She is saying to herself, I'm no longer going to be a widow. This is my one day. This is the opportunity that God's going to take in my life. And so she prepares herself. She changes her outfit. She's talking to herself that I'm no longer this person. I'm now going to be a different person. I'm ready for this. Are you ready for this? I am going to be moving forward. I'm not going to be staying in my old story any longer. Things need to change. And I wonder, those amongst us here or watching online, if you're struggling to move forward, if you know you want to move forward, you've got a desire to move forward, but you're struggling to do it. Maybe there's a change we need to make for ourselves. We need to put off something and put on something different. It might not be a different outfit, but it could be a new mindset. That I'm no longer going to be struggling with this, but I'm going to commit to doing this. You know, many people at the start of the year say, right, I want to go to the gym and I'm going to exercise. And that lasts maybe a couple of weeks. But maybe someone who says, this is going to be my day to move forward on exercising. Doesn't go to the gym, or doesn't sign up, but I want to go for a walk. I'm going to go for a 5-minute walk. And there's a 5-minute walk. And then the 5 minutes turns into 10 minutes. And then after a few months, they're going for, half an hour walk, or maybe even a long run. But they're moving forward. They've changed their own attitudes. What is it the Lord is saying to us? What about our lives does he want us to change so that we can move forward in the way that he wants us to move forward? Because today can be your one day. Love is not just a feeling, it's a commitment, and above all, a sacrifice, is the quote. But for me, I just want to focus on committed love. Committed love. In verse 5 of the passage, it goes, I will do whatever you say, Ruth answered. Often we approach obedience in negative terms. We see it as one person forcing another. You've got to do this, or you must do that, or because I said you have to. Here, the situation is different. There's no compulsion, there's no pressure. There's simply a response that's motivated and generated by love and a recognition of the commitment they have between one another. Naomi has come up with a plan, and Ruth's response is, whatever it is, I'll do it. I'm all in. I'm totally committed. I'm in this to the end. That's what I said before we left Moab. I haven't changed my response. So whatever you say, the answer's yes. You haven't told me what it is I have to do yet, but the answer will be yes. Because of the love and the commitment we have to each other. It's not selfish. So often when we think of obedience, it's someone forcing another, trying to manipulate and control them. But here, this response is positive and it's not selfish. Naomi has been thinking of Ruth, and Ruth has been thinking about Naomi. Naomi realizes that her current situation can't continue and that she needs to provide a future and a hope for Ruth. So, I've got a plan. I've got an idea. If you're willing to do this, it's not for Naomi's benefit, it's for Ruth's benefit. But all the time, Ruth is thinking about Naomi as well as herself. And she says, because you've come up with a plan, a person I know is committed to me, I know is loving towards me, then I'm willing to do it. Not because I'm forced, not because you've tried to push one arm up my back, but because I know the strength of the love that you have for me. There's integrity in this love. Ruth doesn't try and put herself forward or even take advantage of Boaz when she's there lying at his feet. Apparently, in the Hebrew, there's lots of, word play. I'm not a Hebrew scholar, so it just passed my head. But there's a lot of interplay, a lot of, it could be this, it could be that. You could go this way, you could go that way. But all the way through this passage, Ruth conducts herself with integrity, with honor, doing the right thing, rather than just looking after herself. With this partnership, with Naomi's local knowledge and Ruth's willingness to play the part, committed love, learning from each other, gaining from the other side, playing our part in the plan. These two trust each other because they know at a very deep and profound level that each of them has the other's best interests. It's an amazing description. This experience must have been really beautiful to be able to experience from another person and to live out. And this is simply in a human context. But the Christian story, the faith that we believe, is that there's one who is like this to us. And his name is Jesus. He loves us. He is trustworthy. He's demonstrated his integrity towards us. He's honored his word to us. And what is our response to him? Is it like Ruth? Are we able to say with him, I will do whatever you say? Our verse for the year is taken from John 14, verse 15. Jesus says, if you love me, keep my commands. We could interpret this in kind of, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. It's not that. This is more the picture. This is a more accurate reflection because Jesus cares about us. He wants the best for us. He's not selfish in his attitude. He can be trusted. He's already demonstrated how much he's committed to us. So much so that he was willing to sacrifice his life. And later on, we will be celebrating the sacrifice of Jesus through communion. Jesus says, if you love me, keep my commands. Committed love. And then my final point for today, and that is about the kinsman redeemer. Who are you? He asked. I'm your servant Ruth, she said. Spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are my kinsman redeemer. This is technical language for those who are unaware. A kinsman redeemer is simply a member of the extended family. But when you're in times of trouble and you needed to sell your land of inheritance, and that's significant, then you had to find the closest relative to sell it on to. So that the family name and the land that they had, that they were meant to be stewarding, remained in the clan, and that the people could still be sustained. It's a protection mechanism for the sake of people. So that if you get into hard times, you know who to turn to. And there's an obligation that's based on family members, whoever is able to, can buy the land. And then you can be cared for. Your descendants will have something to live off of in the future. And all should be well. So when Boaz discovers this person, this body lying at his feet, and asks the question, who are you? Why are you here? What are you up to? Her response is to say, spread the corner of your garment over me. And she could have stopped there, which simply would have been a request of marriage from Boaz. And if you know the passage, he's quite excited by that. It's like, wow, you've come for me. You could have gone to anyone. You could have gone after the rich who were younger. You could have gone after the popular people. But no, you didn't. But the reason you didn't was not because you couldn't go after those people, those that were your contemporaries, that were in, wearing all the right things, the in people, but because of your commitment, because of your commitment of love to Naomi. See, love commitments restrain us as well as free us. They get to shape us and influence our lives and how we live in the day-to-day. That she was busy looking after Naomi because that was her love commitment to her. And she didn't chase off the young man that she could have won. But because Boaz was a kinsman and could redeem, she asked him to do that. Not just for her, but also for her mother-in-law. If she'd have gone off after a young man, it would have been for herself. She would have been looked after and cared for. Fine. But what about her mother-in-law? She would have been abandoned. But here, in this moment, she goes, spread it over me. But not just me, but because of your family connection. And those of you who've been with us over these few weeks who've been going through Ruth, we already know about how Boaz has treated Ruth because of his family connection and his commitment to family and his commitment to God. So we can have a reasonable expectation when Ruth asks him to do this based on his track record. His response is likely to be yes. Unfortunately, there's a twist because there's someone ahead of the queue. But all of this is shaped and fashioned by commitment love. Do we not want to experience that for ourselves? To have that blessing in our lives where we can live in a life of integrity, where we can be trusted and trust the other person, that we can respond in obedience because it comes from a place of love rather than manipulation and twistedness and self-centeredness like we so often encounter in the world. And the kinsman redeemer does for Ruth and for Naomi what they couldn't do for themselves. They buy the land. Ruth and Naomi don't have the resources. They don't have the ability. They don't have the power. But the kinsman redeemer does. Jesus is our ultimate example of a kinsman redeemer. He came as a human person so that he would be willing, he could pay the cost. And it cost him his life so that we could experience life and relationship and love from the creator of the universe. Jesus is our kinsman redeemer. And if you haven't stepped into that relationship for yourself, then I encourage you, may this day be your one day. And then you can move forward and experience for yourself that love and commitment from him and from sisters and brothers around you. In Jesus' name, amen. We're going to sing once again, and the song we'll sing as it leads into a time of communion is Jesus Christ, I think upon your sacrifice. Please stand.